Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by Ideate Software. Be sure to check out all of their great Revit applications designed to increase your productivity.
We're going to kick it like, I don't know, like BIMThoughts think about kicking stuff. That was a horrible beginning, but that's what it's going to be. That's the beginning we came up with right now on the spot for BIMThoughts. This special, super duper, way cool episode where Carl Storms and Dana DeFilippi join me, Bill DeBevick, to talk about our favorite sponsor in the entire world, Ideate, and all the great things that Ideate does, including their IdeateApps. So first of all, thank you so much, Ideate Software, for helping us all of these years in producing BIMThoughts. Without your support, it'd come all out of my pocket. So since you're supporting us in such a great way, all of the bandwidth that brings this podcast to you is brought to you by them. So thank you very much, Ideate Software. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, everybody else at Ideate Software. So, Carl, Dana, what's new and exciting?
Well, there's lots of things that are new and exciting, and now that we're actually in the calendar year 2022, it seems fitting to talk about some of the latest and greatest from the Ideate app world for Revit 2022.
And this is the time of year I like the best, between January and the first part of April. Do you know why?
I do not.
Because Autodesk product years and the real year are the same. And so you don't get confused anymore.
Actually, I feel like it's more confusing for me. I feel like by the time that the actual year meets the version year, I'm ready to say the next year. It feels old to me, right? Like we've been in Revit 2022 for a while.
I think Autodesk needs to get out of the old Windows 98 thinking and start coming up with real version numbers again.
Or names, like they should just use the code names. So Revit Panther. Revit Sapphire. Revit.
No, I think they ought to do dogs like Revit Pug.
I'd buy that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
my favorite was Revit Corgi.
Revit. Yes,
Revit
that would
Corgi.
be like the most playful Revit there is.
That's right, Revit Corgi.
Well, if Revit is a dog, then Ideate must be the really glamorous collar.
Right, Ideate is the glamorous collar. And for Revit 2022 or Revit Poodle, it's the pink collar with the rhinestones.
Nice.
See what I did there? I'm branding.
There you go.
Very impressive.
Yeah, Harlan, you hearing this? I could help you with the branding.
Autodesk marketing, watch out.
Watch out, Revit Poodle. So IdeateApps, did you know that they have spell check, align, clone, sheet manager, renumber, X-ray, smart delete, quick select, and view creator? They have 9. It's like the Brady Bunch thing. They have 9 different things.
Well, and I feel like it's exponentially even more than that. It's like the blended family that all, each one of those 9 brought 3 children of their own, because each one of those tools does so much within of itself. For example, the Ideate View Creator now has 4 different ways that you can create views. The new way of creating views is by room. You could duplicate views, apply dependent views, plans to levels, but now by room. I feel like this is one of the major things that I get asked to automate. I'm really excited about this edition. I think that this is going to be huge for those of us that are in production, actually going room by room, creating, room data sheets, enlarged views, elevations, these types of things.
Well, just think of all the things you could do by creating views by room. You've got one is exit plans for like hotels. Things go in the back of your door.
Oh yeah, egress. 2,
And even better, which is, well, I don't know if it's better than exit plans on the back of the door. That's like the best thing ever. But this next thing that's pretty cool is you could create a view for each room, print it out to PDF, and then use that for your markups when you do your walkthroughs.
There's so many ways.
So many things.
And then not only can you create the views, you can also place them on the sheet.
Yes, and you can place them on the sheet aligned to the center of the view now, or the center of that part, that area, as opposed to just like willy-nilly wherever it wants to go.
Right, the origin, whatever that might be.
Right. Ain't nobody got time for that.
No.
Well, the thing about the room view, and grab your popcorn and settle down for a story, because I got a doozy for you here. Back in the day when I worked in production, and this is going a ways back, but I was working on a large hospital project. At the time, it was actually the largest Revit project ever created.
Really?
Yep. So this goes way back because there's been a lot of big projects in Revit. But one of the things that we were doing is we were doing all of the room data sheets in AutoCAD still, because we couldn't really get Revit to do what it want. This was 2008 version of Revit.
Oof.
And so we had 3 people working full time for 3 years, doing nothing but room data sheets inside of AutoCAD based on exports from Revit and updating all of the hospital rooms throughout this massive hospital. Now, in this add-in, you can do the room data sheet, you can place it on the sheet, you can add in the interior elevations, the 3D, everything with one click of the button after setting a few things. So that replaces 3 people for 3 years. So if that's not return on investment, I don't know what is.
Well, I don't know if it replaces them. It gives those 3 people something else to do.
Fair enough. It might not replace those people, as you say, but I can tell you that those people will be much more happier spending 3 years doing something else than room data sheets in AutoCAD for 3 years.
Well, if they're like us, they would be. And the reason I say that is because in my old age now, I'm starting to learn that some people like to do that kind of work. And I used to call them weird in the past, and I still do today, because I don't like doing that kind of work. But some people do like doing that. Hopefully they'll like doing something different, because Ideate just did that for them.
I know that also a huge one of the tools of Ideates that my users within Revit are very reliant on is the X-ray tool, allowing you to find elements that you may not be able to see in the particular view, which those of us that are BIM managers know that probably accounts for the majority of our questions, right? Why can't I see my ceiling? Why can't I see the Revit link? Why can't... And, there was definitely times that X-ray failed us in the past and would just say, I'm not sure. And I think that with the new additions, we're going to see a lot less of that. You have the ability to see things through category turnoffs, through Revit links, and plan regions. So many reasons of how many, visibility reasons. And I know, like I said, as BIM managers, we go through that list almost instinctively as to how things could be off. One of those tricky things in that list that all of us hold dear is the discipline. Bill, Carl, have you guys gotten stuck by the discipline? It's like, oh my God, I went for 3 hours trying to figure out why these things weren't visible or were not visible in this right way. And it was because they were set to the structural discipline or what have you.
Well, you've got to have discipline to make sure you set that right.
100%.
And I don't have any discipline, so I would run into that all the time. All the time. Yes, X-ray is a cool tool, but as we talk about these cool tools that everybody should know and love, all the BIM thinkers, that is. But how do we get that out to the masses, all of our other designers out there in our offices, so that they understand what the heck these great tools are all about and how much time they can save them. How are you sharing this?
I think that there is still a really big debate, and I think that we're going to see that this year coming up in some of these conferences about node versus code. I think that there's still a big question as to, do we want a button? Do we want a Dynamo script? Maybe we put it in player. How do we do these types of automations?
Right.
Ideate, as we've said time and time before on BIMThoughts, brings you not only so many tools within the robust library, their interface is just so incredibly sleek and intuitive.
Yeah.
The tools that we've been using are really truly with only the IdeateApps. There's also BIMLink, Explorer, and Sticky. We haven't even started to talk about. I mean, worth its weight in gold.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, as Carl was saying, it's not just with room data sheets. It's model fidelity, project setup, all of these types of things that we're having to experience as we navigate through Revit, whether it's for management or for production, what have you. But Ideate truly does make it so easy and so intuitive. They really do listen to the industry, and they put out so many wonderful videos to support all their tools.
Mm-hmm.
That's also one really great thing that I can rely on, is that I don't need to create documentation internally at Smith Group related to an Ideate tool. I know that Ideate software, whether it's on their website or on YouTube or what have you, they're going to have something that explains in complete depth, step by step, how to use their tool.
Right. And they have short videos too that just says, here's all the great tools if you want to learn more, kind of thing. I want to get back a little bit about what you were saying regarding code, no code, and Dynamo scripts and all that other stuff. Do you think that the designers out there, I'm just going to call them designers because sort of a generic term kind of a thing, that are using Revit day in and day out, do you think that they can run a Dynamo script or know how to run code or I don't know if the average user knows how to do that kind of stuff. Am I wrong in that thinking, or?
I think that it's based off the standards that each individual firm sets up, and hopefully the individual users of that program follow. And some companies have a really wonderful department that is really fluent in Python and other types of coding languages, and can create those applications.
Right. Well, creating
Revit,
the applications is a different scenario. I'm talking about just the day-to-day user trying to get in and using some of these great tools that you have made, or Ideate has made, or anybody has made. That's what I'm curious about. What has been your experience in trying to get the majority of the users even to run a Dynamo script?
Well, first off, I assume many of us, or many of you listening, probably know I'm a huge cheerleader for Dynamo. I think my excitement, hopefully, if nothing else, gets people excited about Dynamo and how they can save time in Revit.
Right.
However, I think that kind of tying back to what Carl was saying about the room data sheets and the 3 individual users, we have different approaches within the industry of how we want to create these automation tools. And so depending on which firm you're at, they might have a different resource for you available. Maybe they have an incredibly robust Dynamo library. Maybe they have a tab with their firm name on it within Revit that has its own tools. Maybe they've invested in Ideate and they have Ideate to do that all for them rather than an internal department. The beautiful thing about Ideate is that it's seamless. I have had so many Revit users come into the firms that I've been working at and already know Ideate. I don't have to teach them the tools that I've created or that company has developed specifically for their standards, right? And in addition to that, tying back to what Carl was saying, is we haven't now had to hire someone and pay a salary to someone to maintain and create and document and teach, etc., all of these tools. Right. So I think that actually Ideate is kind of a bridge to that gap. And I might even venture to say one of the reasons that I knew it was possible to do so much more than what Revit was capable of out of the box, right? Working with sheet indexes is in BIMLink rather than sheet indexes in Revit. You know, those types of things made me very curious as to, well, what else is the API hiding from me? And I think that it almost allows that you know, kind of a toe into the pond of automation that is way less daunting.
Right, because I can see...
Do you agree, Bill?
Yeah, I can see a place for both things. For the stuff that you do and the stuff that Ideate does, or any of the great add-on people out there. Because the stuff that you make is really suited for a task that your company does or that person does, and in the way that your company does it, in the way that your sheets are made and your models are built and all of that other stuff. And you're there to support it because it's like 5 or 6, 20 different steps that the end user has to fill out, then they hit the go button. Maybe. Whereas for these common everyday tools that we get so much enjoyment out of X-Ray and all that other stuff, having it already done sure makes it a lot easier for not only us, the BIM managers, but I think it makes it a lot easier for the end users to actually use. And we're gonna get more of our designers using those tools than those custom tools you make. Because now you can spend the time on the higher hanging fruit, if you will, and go after those difficult things to solve as opposed to the easier tools to solve. What do you think?
You have it exactly right, Bill. That is exactly how I approach it. If Ideate can get it done, I'm not going to create an automation tool or process to do that. Right? Because Ideate has already attacked that automation tool for exactly. So and they've done it incredibly well. I can rely on that as well.
They would do it a lot better than I can do it.
And it's going to work seamlessly across versions, right? With different APIs and all of that. Absolutely.
And their interface is then not easy is not easy. It is easy, but I think consistent is more the word I was looking for. And consistency, I think, is more important than ease of use. Because if you have the easiest to use interface, but all the interfaces are completely different, they all become more difficult to use because you have to remember how to do that thing in this particular tool. But if your interfaces are consistent, no matter how difficult it becomes, after you've learned that interface once, you've got it down pat. And that's what's nice about building a user interface, as opposed to going into a Dynamo script, which, although it'd be consistent because they'll all look the same to everybody else, a bunch of boxes and squiggly lines, but it's not consistent. It's not easy to use because you can't make the dialog box the way you want it to look easily.
Amen to that, brother.
Wow, I said something smart for a change.
Well, that's part of the thing. I mean, even with add-ins like data shapes, where you can sort of manipulate a little bit what that pop-up looks like, it's not quite the same as what you can do with a true add-in. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That's one of the things about the Ideate suite of tools, is that they take the the user interface experience and the look and the feel as important as the code and the background and
Right.
behind it. And that makes a big difference. Like you're saying, you talk about consistency and working together, but being something that's easy to use, and when you look at it, it's intuitive and it makes sense, and it runs across the whole suite of products that they run. People enjoy using it, and that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
If it's a great product, but you just, for whatever reason, it's not your thing, you don't like using it because it it looks like it's from 1983, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to use it.
Yeah, and who wants to use something from 1983?
True story.
So I'd like to switch up this episode a little bit. When we first started, we were going to say, well, let's talk about all the new things that Ideate tools do. And I would make a wager that most of our listeners already know what Ideate tools do. And I would say that a majority of our listeners, our BIM managers, already have Ideate tools in their offices. And if they don't, well, then now they know they need to go get it. I think we ought to talk about how we inform our other designers, our friends in our offices, about the tools. I know Dana, you talked a little bit about that, about the YouTube videos are there and they're already there. But how do you spread the word in the office?
That's tough, Bill. I mean, I think with especially now with us migrating to, not maybe a partially in the office or maybe
Good point.
fully virtual experience, right? We don't have the opportunity of sitting next to each other in the office and saying, hey, there's a tool for that might help you out. I think that first off, I like to plant the computational seed. I like to think that I get my Revit users to think in a different way that isn't necessarily about what they are, that specific task that they're doing in Revit and, that how it's going to be done in Revit, but the data behind it and how that task, if it's logical, whether it could be automated. Whether that's using something like BIMlink because we can export data out to Excel, whether that's utilizing Explorer because we can select multiple elements based off of family type or work set or phase or a number of different ways of filtering and looking at information. Just really being able to look at the data, thinking about your Revit model as a database of information that you're circulating around. And on that, then I think you start to ask those questions yourself as a Revit user. But it is very challenging. I mean, I don't think that it's something that, especially those of us who have worked 2D the majority of our career without a lot of data sitting behind a model, right? It's just really a file, right, with a bunch of lines in it and text. That might be hard for us to grasp. The wonderful thing is that Ideate has, like we were talking about, the videos, the links that are just really pages that you can read step by step documentation if you're not a video person per se. We all learn different ways, and I think that is a really wonderful way that Ideate has approached it, is ensuring that literature is there.
Are you a video learner or a read learner?
I'd say I'm a little of both. I think for the overall process, I like to kind of see it in context of video, and then if I need to go back and look at the individual pieces and steps, then the documentation might help.
I find myself video first to get me started and get me going, and then documentation second for I need to know how to do this particular part. I remember it in the video, but I don't want to scrub the video to find that part again. Because videos are great for introducing you to something. But videos are horrible for reference material. Because you can't just go, oh, that's in that video, that 3-hour video. I need 3 minutes out of that 3-hour video. Where is that 3 minutes at? Where in a written one, you can go right to it and see it again. Because you've already been exposed to it, you understand it a lot better. But to getting back on how to share the love, we implemented a newsletter from our design technologies team out to the entire firm. Everybody gets the newsletter, not just the Revit users. Even the shipping and receiving people get the newsletter, so that everyone gets exposed to what the new tools are and where to find those tools, and that those tools now exist. Because it's just as important for the Revit user to know those tools exist. But I think it's more important that the project managers know that those tools exist. Because now they can go in and ask their designer ones, hey, I know you can do this export to Excel thing for this room data. Can you do that for me, please? And then they can get the data. Now they understand the value of Revit, the value of getting back to what you were saying earlier, Dana, the value of the information. They already knew what the value of the information is, but they've always wished they could get it. But if they didn't know the tool existed, they didn't know they could get it out. So that's why we do that newsletter now. The hard part about the newsletter, believe it or not, is not actually writing the newsletter. It's rewriting the newsletter to make it shorter so that people have time to read it or read the whole thing. But we do that from time to time, and we share the love. We share the things that we've experienced and the things that we're learning, the new applications that are installing, what's coming up. All of those different things are coming up in that newsletter. And we're also finding that when we put that information in there for self-service stuff, like click here to get this installed, or go ahead and get your Duo set up now by clicking this link to follow the instructions. A lot of people do that. And then our training sessions, where we do our lunch and learns, or we do our just what we call Let's Learn Togethers, the audience is smaller, but the audience that's there needs the help. And so we give them a little bit more help during those sessions, because the people who have already done it, they don't need to now attend that. They can get through their other work and get it done. So that's what we're doing to try to share the love. It's just an internal newsletter. Because no matter how hard our intranet is pretty good. It's got a lot of data in there. But I think the newsletter is getting more traction than a post on the intranet.
I think that's pretty brilliant, Bill. I think in addition, having resource links tied to your tools are incredibly important. Right. Whether that's a Dynamo script or an add-on, Ideate has the help features built in, which is really wonderful. I think that definitely will cut down the fear when it goes into utilizing these tools as well.
Absolutely. Just getting the exposure out there. Getting them to ask the question of, can we do this? I know we can do it for this, but can we do it for this? And then Dana thinks and goes, yes, we can do it for that. I can write something for that. And then you get excited and you write something great. Instead of, no, can't do that because you don't have time. Or, yeah, we can do that, but I don't have time to do that. Now you can. That's the fun part. And if we don't know what they need, and they don't know what we can do, the two things will never come together. I think that's probably the most important thing I've said today. If the end user doesn't know what the software can do, and the programmers don't know what the end user wants, those two things will never come together.
You don't know what you don't know, right, Bill?
You don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know what you don't know.
I didn't know that.
That's a quandary for me.
Yeah, it is a quandary. Whew. So get Ideate software. We like them. You'll love them too.
And the wonderful thing is that they have free trials.
Right.
Try them out.
Try them out.
And you will fall in love.
Absolutely.
Well, Carl, I think we're up at the top of the Aubin. You have any final thoughts for us?
Well, I think you're right. I think we went through that and got us an Aubin in the bank, and I think it's some good content.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that the tools are great. I think we're always going to have this discussion about tools like Dynamo or even Rhino inside of Revit that give you the ability to do these nice prototyping, to test things out, to find what's in place. But eventually, when you have one of those scripts, programs, or graphs that really works, everyone wants to go the add-in route. And while having an internal team like Dana does at the Smith Group is great, not everyone does. And even if you do, it's not worth reinventing the wheel when there's something of this quality out there that you can already have done.
Absolutely.
So that's my final thought, that if it's already out there and it's as great as the tools from Ideate, just give them your money, as Fry says.
I wanted to share a little BIMThought news with everybody. We are going to be taking a little vacation because I think we deserve it, don't you? And then we'll come back when we're ready. And we're going to have a new format when we come back, and we're going to call it BIMThoughts Live, where it won't be as edited, it won't be as scripted. It'll just be us talking about BIM stuff. And we're going to do it over Zoom so we can see each other. And then we'll post that, obviously, in the podcast format as well. But we're also going to be posting that on the YouTube channel so that you can see us talk. And maybe it'll be a little bit more entertaining for you watching it on the YouTubes than over the podcast. But hey, we don't care how you consume it. Just listen. So keep us subscribed in your podcast feeds. Keep us subscribed on your YouTube so that you can see our new episode when it comes out. It'll probably be a month or two before we get back into the swing of things. And we're also going to be switching over to a every other week cadence instead of a weekly cadence. And this is to keep our sanity, because we're starting to get a little insane, as you can imagine. And so we don't want to do that. We want to be sane. So we hope all of you have a safe and wonderful and whatever time away. 2 months. We'll call it a vacation. I hope that you find all of the other podcasts out there too. There are other podcasts out there that do BIM stuff. Explore them. But we will talk to you again real soon. And hopefully we can all see each other again at Built in Anaheim, or Built in Europe, or Built in Australia. So we hope to see you again soon there or at Autodesk University.